I know everyone likes Zelda's Lullaby, but whenever I hear the title music for Wind Waker, I get chills. Like every time since I was 13 to now when I'm 23. The only difference being back then I didn't really get the game. I just enjoyed it. I liked the art style, I liked being in a boat, that's cool, and there was duck mailmen. So, you know, why wouldn't you like that? But I think I get it a little bit better now. And of course, talking about the dungeons, items, story, and all that stuff is important, but today, I'm just gonna focus on and discuss the way that the Wind Waker uses the boat, the ocean, and the sea chart to do things to your brain. The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker takes place centuries after the events of Ocarina of Time, on the premise that the Hero of Time did not return to stop Ganon after he reappeared. As such, the gods stepped in and made it rain. A lot. Instead of a sprawling land mass attached by open areas or pathways, the adventure is spread across a vast ocean. Link traverses this new world via his boat, the King of Red Lions, and controlling the wind with the Wind Waker, the baton once used to direct the sages. While the combat, dungeons, and general Zelda charm remain largely unchanged from its predecessors, Wind Waker demanded a lot from the fans and newcomers alike simply by asking them to get in a boat. That massive request is what defines The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. But is it rated S? The ocean is a pretty big deal in The Wind Waker, like is big in general. Kind of an ocean thing, right? But 80% or so, I didn't do the math, of the content is actually in or on or around an island. So how do we manage all this openness? There's all this oceany, watery stuff everywhere. Now, there's a way, and I'll get to it, but let's just, for now, let's call the ocean negative space. You start the game on Outset Island. It's even in the name. Though at first it feels more like Tutorial Island. You gotta learn the ways of the hero. Oh, there's your grandma. Aw, she's cute. I sure hope she makes me soup one day. Oh, and look over there. Even more old people. Seriously, what's with all the old people? But soon you'll be off Old People Island, sailing in a pirate ship on a quest to save your sister. Then you get that feeling. Aw yeah, I'm going on an adventure. You make your way to the Forsaken Fortress only to get your tiny, cel-shaded ass handed to you, after which you're rescued by the King of Red Lions, who is a boat. I love this boat. I love that this boat has a name and a face, and it kind of goes like, "Rrr," but I feel like it should have a Scottish voice, kind of like, Link, what are you doing? Get back inside me or you'll drown out there. Or, Link, shoot the fucking birds for Christ's sake, I refuse to be shit on by these flighty cunts. But yeah, he doesn't talk. You'll eventually find yourself on Windfall Island, a sort of mini-hub you'll return to several times over the course of the game. Once you acquire the sea chart, the real game begins. Now, the reason I brought up those three specific locations, Outset Island, Forsaken Fortress, and Windfall Island, is because those are the only three things you know exist at this point in the game. Might seem like nothing, but look at their placement. That is a lot of space between where you started and where you've ended up. Now, even if you're not overcome by the urge to go adventure and sail out for wherever the fuck, that empty sea chart looks daunting. At first, the game gives you a lot of directions, so you don't have an anxiety attack and give up, but that blank chart is a key motivator. By scattering all of the main story islands central to the plot throughout the ocean in different areas, you are kinda tricked into going into the ocean, right? Like at first it's really gigantic, it's huge, it's like, I can't deal with all this. But once you start going around to different places, even if you're going in a straight line, you kinda get used to the idea of maybe diverging, doing a little bit of exploring. Yeah, that's the beginning of managing all the negative space, but there's more. It gets quite deep. The very beginning of your actual adventure, like once you've got the Scottish boat and a sail to make it go, takes you to Dragon Roost Cavern. Now, Dragon Roost Cavern ain't that far, it's like right over there. That's not far, it's like 1 square away, but you are guaranteed to pass by an island in that square. Yeah, look at that island. Look at it as you sail by and make a decision. Do I go there? Or should I come back later? Don't I have something important to do? Island silhouettes are perhaps the smartest piece of Wind Waker's ocean design. A silhouette could be anything. A silhouette could be your next greatest adventure, or the biggest waste of an island ever. Who knows? That's why it's so genius. Now, as you can see from this glorious overlay I've made, there's a bunch of relevant shit all over the map. You've got your heart containers, item upgrades, main story islands, and other shit I didn't make a map for. Obviously, though, especially towards the beginning of the game, there's gonna be some stuff that you can't do. But you won't know that just by looking at the silhouette. Only exploration can satisfy your curiosity. The islands are designed with drastically different silhouettes and placed in different areas specifically as to be enticing to you while you're sailing around. But finding things randomly while you're doing stuff can only be so interesting for so long. You'll run into giant octopi, marauding ship bastards, and helicopter fish birds, but finding one specific thing isn't as serendipitous. As the game progresses and the world starts to expand, it's easy to just sail by islands because you're starting to fill up that backlog. So ideally, there needs to be some ways to find specific things, and wouldn't you know, there is. Why gosh dang-a-rooney, this game is so smart. As I mentioned earlier, for as long as you're just sailing, either wandering or completing the story or mindlessly collecting barrel rupees, it's easy to get distracted by the islands you find, some of which will be home to this guy. I have no clue who the fuck this guy is, or how he's on all these different islands at the same time, or how he's managed to burn his eye out, or what his fascination with every conceivable thing on the ocean is, but he was very helpful. Islands are big. They show up in the distance, on the map, on treasure charts, etc. However, there's important stuff not on the islands, so this guy, Captain Spyglass Forever Pants, points you in the direction of oceanic shenanigans like submarines and giant octopi. Maritime hooplas are all a splishy splashy good time, but eventually you've got to get things done. When searching for specific islands and completing your sea chart, you're gonna need to talk to the fish guy here. He calls you Fry, and seems to be obsessed with these things called the Triumph Forks. Look, any fork that I use to defeat my dinner is a Triumph Fork, as far as I'm concerned. Reel him in with some bait and he'll inform you about the island you're at, then mark it off in your sea chart. Unless the island is a boring pile of dirt, in which case he'll tell you about some other island, or just babble on about the Triumph Forks. It's like they're super important or something. Finally, we've gone from open ocean to main story islands to interesting, divergent side quests and learning how to manage all of those various things. But the final piece in the puzzle of how Wind Waker works wonders with water would in fact be this guy right here. His name is Cyclos. Up until your first venture into the Tower of the Gods, there are 0 ways to get around other than your boat. Sailing here, sailing there, and even if you got the Swift Sail in the HD version, you'll have spent a lot of time on the ocean. It's been very time consuming, and now that there are all these nifty places you've got to return to, we're back to feeling overwhelmed like when the sea chart was empty. Once you've acquired the Hero's Bow, however, you can learn the Ballad of Gales. How is quite obvious. In fact, I'm pretty sure Fish Guy just straight up tells you, but I won't. You better figure that shit out on your own. Whip out your Wind Waker and conduct this simple song, and it'll teleport you from anywhere on the ocean to certain points strewn about the map. Just about anything you could possibly care about will be within 1 or 2 squares of these points, and now you won't have to sail all the way across the fucking ocean just to get home to Windfall Island. It's worth it for that alone. And you can't complete the game without this, so there's no way you could miss it. Beyond being super convenient though, the Ballad of Gales marks a paradigm shift both in the game and the player. The world's always been open, and by virtue of sailing through the ocean, the player's concept of what's in the world has grown exponentially. Characters talk of islands still uncharted and items still unfound, but with the Ballad of Gales and the freedom granted by the ocean, you can go get shit done. Since you don't have to sail everywhere, you can visit islands with purpose and pursue rumors and treasure charts without having to pack for a year-long voyage. Now, towards the end of the game, there's a massive quest which requires you scour the ocean blue and find these important utensils. There's 7 of them, I think. And even in the HD version where that quest is truncated, it's gonna take a little while, and if you had to sail individually to each of these places, even if you knew exactly where they were, yeah, that would take too long. All of the side quests and upgrades and random stuff like mini games out in the middle of that fucking ocean that have piled up over the course of the game can be tackled so effortlessly now. Think of an event and you can go finish it. Point to an island and you can mark it off your bucket list. Now that you've put in the time, sailing across the ocean, bothering fishes for information, and probably getting lost a bunch, the Ballad of Gales feels like being in ultimate control of your adventure. And that's what The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker is ultimately about. It's about taking control of your adventure. You're ripped from your quaint little starting island and thrown, literally, into an ocean of mystery. You're given a sea chart and a reason to venture forth to adventure, but there's no way that you could possibly see everything, do everything that's set before you. But as the world expands and your control grows, all the enigmatic confusion of this massive ocean gives way to memories and experiences written down within the very sea chart that was once so empty. And that, you guys, is why the sandwich is only cheese. Yeah, rated S.
Thank you! Bye!
So I guess Beetle isn't really that important.
I think he's important. I think he's, yeah.
Well, I mean, you didn't even talk about him, like, at all.
I mean, he's not that important, right? Like, I mean, there's the Ballad of the Gales, there's the boat, ocean. That's like the game, right?
Right, but in order to explore, you need that bait, and he's the only one in the entire game who supplies it.
Dang.
So...
Shit. Alright, well, part 2 coming soon, featuring Youngtown.
No.
Oh, come on, man.
I'm not gonna make a video about Beetle. The freaking...